I married a man everyone called a beggar. An hour later, gates taller than a church swung open, and men in suits bowed like I was royalty. If you think that sounds like a miracle, ask yourself what kind of storm forces a girl to say I do in a torn dress to a man she barely knows. My name is Adama. 19. Orphan. In my uncle's house, silence was safer than truth because truth earned you a slap and a night on the ground. Morning started before the rooster cleared his throat. Fetch water, sweep the compound. Cook pretend hunger didn't have teeth. Aunt Naka watched with her hands on her hips like she owned the sun. My cousins Goy and Chinye laughed when I walked by, the kind of laugh that makes your back remember every mistake. And Uncle Ozu Amina, he could cut your hope with a look, you know what I mean. Cruelty doesn't arrive with drums, it slides in wearing slippers. It's the bathroom door locked, so you wash at the back tap while neighbors pretend not to see. It's your name called like a chore, not a person. I kept moving because sometimes movement is the only prayer you have. I greeted elders, carried baskets for market women, tied a crying boy's broken sandal with my scarf. Tiny things to remind myself I was still human in a house that wanted me small. Then the suitors started coming. Not for me at first, for my cousins. Men from town with smooth voices and loud cologne. But their eyes wandered to the kitchen doorway, to the girl with the basin, to the quiet one who said good afternoon like she meant it. I didn't ask for it, didn't invite it, but in our house even a compliment aimed at me sounded like a theft. The day a man told my uncle I'm not here for them, I want the calm-eyed girl. The roof just about lifted off. I became the reason my cousin's shine didn't shine. Do you think that's fair? Uncle didn't bother to hide himself after that. He said if pride had a child, it would walk like me. He promised he'd marry me to a madman so no one would ever ask again. When people repeat a lie long enough, their face gets comfortable wearing it. That's how he looked the afternoon a stranger limped into our yard. Dusty clothes, crooked hat, a walking stick that clicked like a clock. People whispered beggar. I noticed his hands. 2 clean nails trimmed a careful man. He greeted softly, eyes steady, not hungry, not mocking, just present. He and my uncle stepped aside, voices lowered in a way meant to be overheard. Numbers. Next week. My name like a receipt. That night, there was a family meeting where only one person had no voice. Me. No bride price, no celebration, no choice. Just carry your cursed beauty and go. If it were you, what would you have done? The next day, I found the stranger sitting at the square, feeding birds with ground nuts. The kind of gentle act that didn't match the man who had just bartered for a bride. Why me, I asked. Because you're different, he said. He didn't explain. Back home, my aunt threw an old lace dress at me. Torn sleeve, stained hem. Be grateful. Women walking past our gate pointed, that's her, the one marrying the cripple. The word cripple hit my ribs like a stone. I kept sweeping, kept washing, because you can't always control what people call you, but you can decide where your hands go. At night, he would appear near the mango tree, speaking like someone who'd read more books than he let on. He told me I could leave after the wedding if I wanted. He said he wouldn't force me into anything. He said he chose me because I treated him like a person when others looked through him like smoke. It sounded like a test, and I don't like tests I didn't sign up for. Still, when he turned to go, I heard myself say goodnight. The sound surprised me. It was the voice of someone who had saved a small piece of herself for later. The wedding was in our living room. No drums, no rice, just 4 walls and a pastor who read a verse like he was being paid by the minute. Uncle stared like a guard counting inventory. My dress felt like it was wearing me. The stranger stood straighter than usual, eyes steady. When the question came, I said, I do. Not because I was in love, but because sometimes the only door out is the one you would never choose on purpose. Yeah, that happened. We stepped outside. That's when I saw the black SUV. Not a village car, the kind that purrs even when it sleeps. A driver stepped out and said, "Good afternoon, sir." "Sir." Pattern interrupt. My heart kicked so hard I could hear it in my ears. I slid onto cool leather that smelled like secrets and watched my life blur across the window. I turned to him, trying to hold my voice steady. "Who are you really?" He waited until the road opened up like a clean page, then he said it. "I'm Obina Wuku. If you know, you know. Wuku Group. Transport stations. Real estate. A rice factory. The kind of name that crawls across the bottom of the news while people argue above it." My mouth opened and closed without sound. He didn't look smug or cruel, just ready. Then the rest arrived like rain years ago. My uncle forged signatures in a land deal, sold a lie, twice dragged their family name through the mud. Obina's father couldn't carry the shame, his health broke, and the grief finished what the loss started. Obina rebuilt in silence. When he could have come back with police and paper, he dressed down and walked into our village to see how people treated a man who could do nothing for them. "Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind." He said the first time he noticed me, I was carrying firewood and tying a little boy's shoe. He said, I said good afternoon like it wasn't charity. He said he saw my heart before he let me see his money. Do you believe in that kind of test, or is that just a rich man's game with poor people's lives? The SUV turned into a private road, where flowers behaved better than people, and the gates opened like they were bowing. Staff stood in uniforms, backs straight, eyes on me. My torn lace hung crooked on my shoulder. My sandals were dusty, and still they said, "Good afternoon, madam." The floors were marble, the lights were gold. There was a staircase that looked like it belonged in a movie. And he said, "You're safe here. You have a choice here. You can breathe here." That sentence felt heavier than the gates. I asked to go back to the village. Not someday. Now. He raised an eyebrow like he didn't see that coming, then nodded. He didn't ask why, because I think he knew. It wasn't revenge I wanted, not exactly. I wanted them to see what they threw away. I wanted to stand in front of their eyes, whole and quiet and undeniable. We drove at 9 the next morning. Him in a fitted blue suit and dark glasses, me in a simple white dress someone pressed for me at the house. The square fell silent the way a room does when a story climbs the steps. The SUV stopped at my uncle's gate. The door opened. Obina stepped out first, then me. You could hear the hush like a cloth being pulled over a drum. Aunt froze with a broom midair. Goy peeked, then vanished. My uncle walked out slowly, face pale. Obina told the driver to bring it. A small box, nothing dramatic. He held it out. "This is for the debt your family owes me." My uncle stared like it might explode. "It's not money," Obina said. "It's the truth." I stepped forward and looked my uncle in the eye. "You called me cursed," I said, calm in a way I didn't know I owned. "You told people I was nothing. And still, God remembered me." The crowd pressed closer without moving. Aunt opened her mouth, then closed it. I reached into my bag, set an envelope on the bench. "For the roof and the bench," I said, "for you and your daughters. Not to buy forgiveness. To draw a line with kindness so I could live inside my own skin." Do you think that's soft? Or do you think that's strength? Here's the part people fight about in the comments. I thanked my uncle for kicking me out. I meant it. If he hadn't pushed me from that small life, I might have folded myself to fit it forever. The driver shut the door, the SUV rolled away, and the village stood holding its breath long after we turned the corner. Back at the mansion, I stood on a balcony looking at a garden that seemed to breathe money. I kept thinking about forgiveness, not because they deserved it, but because I wanted sleep without a stone on my chest. I asked to visit my parents' graves, just a patch of ground under a mango tree, the earth still remembering their names. We went in a small car, no driver, no parade. I knelt, touched the soil, and told them I wasn't hungry anymore. I wasn't sleeping outside anymore. I wasn't a ghost people walked through. Tears arrived in quiet lines. I asked Obinna if we could build a little shelter there. A bench, flowers, a place where sorrow could sit without being mocked. He said yes before I finished the sentence. Days started moving like they finally had somewhere to be. He showed me a room full of sewing machines named for his mother, who kept sewing for village women even when she could have stopped. The air smelled like fabric and peace. In the car one afternoon, he handed me a brown folder. Property documents, lands, 3 shops, the old bakery site. All in my name. Not a toy, not a leash, a foundation. I don't want you wearing my last name like armor, he said. I want you to have your own power. Sometimes a single sentence feeds a starving place in you. Word spread faster than fire because gossip travels light. People who used to whisper when I passed began practicing my name with tenderness. My uncle sat on his broken bench staring at a wall like the wall might blink first. They sent a note asking to talk. I went not because I owed them, but because sometimes closure is a door you have to build yourself. He apologized. It wasn't pretty. It didn't fix the past. I forgave him anyway. I left money for the roof and the bench. If you leave people with exactly what they gave you, the story never changes. When we forgive, do we let them off the hook? Or do we finally put the hook down ourselves? I started speaking to girls at the town hall. Orphans with courage 2 sizes too big. I didn't wear gold. I didn't talk like a poster. I told the truth. I ate leftovers, slept on torn mats, thought the word cursed was stitched into my skin. But I didn't lose my kindness. That was the one thing no one could take. I told them they were enough. The room got quiet the way water gets quiet when it's listening. One girl hugged me like she was holding on to a future. We opened a women's center, tailoring soap baking, not charity, a launch pad. The bakery sings in the mornings now, ovens breathing warm while laughter spills onto the road like sugar. I bent beside a shy girl kneading dough and told her why I built the place. Because someone once looked me in the face and said I was worth nothing, and I decided I would never let another girl swallow that lie. You know what I mean. At night, Obinna gave me a small necklace, silver heart, 1 word engraved, seen. I touched it and remembered the first day he looked at me without looking through me. Being seen is a quiet miracle, not fireworks, a hand over a shaking one. I still have mornings when panic taps my shoulder. I put my feet on the floor, breathe, remember the girl who said I do in a torn dress and stepped from a tiny living room into a world waiting for her to claim it. So let's talk about the part that still bothers people. The test. Was it fair for Obinna to hide who he was, to move through my life like a riddle? 2 things can be true. My life was changed by a test I didn't consent to. And I am grateful for the life I have now, not because of the money, but because I finally have room to be myself and to build a table long enough for others to sit. When power and poverty meet, who holds the pen and who becomes the paper? If it were you, what would you have done at that gate when the driver said, "Good afternoon, sir. Would you step out and face them or let the silence do the talking?" I'll end with this. Who are we when nobody's watching? When money is stripped from the scene, when kindness is the only currency left to spend? Do you think forgiveness heals the world a little, or does it only stitch the person who offers it? Should wealthy people test hearts, or should they fix systems so tests aren't needed? I want to hear you. Drop your thoughts, your pushback, your own chapters. Like this video, if something in you felt seen, subscribe. If you want more real stories told the way life actually sounds, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done and what do you believe is fair?